Welcome dear students to the third lecture of Unit 1 in Strategic Human Resource Management, and the topic for today's lecture is Changing Nature of Workforce. And I am Dr. Tripti Barthwal. I am Director, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management and Development Studies, Lucknow. So, as you are all aware that businesses operate under dynamic business environment. There are many factors of the environment which impact the business and of course, the business strategies. So, now among these changes which impact business, obviously the workforce of the organization will not be left unaffected. And if the workforce of the organization is affected, then it means a lot of focus should be given on it. That means the human resource manager has to take into consideration very closely that how the workforce is changing and what needs to be done with the changes, how the business needs to be proactive in devising human resource strategies, so that whatever the changes are there happening in the nature of the workforce should not in any way adversely impact the business and its future prospects. So, with that perspective, we take a look at the changing nature of workforce. Now, over a past several years, the business environment has become very dynamic, and there have been a lot of changes in the workforce, and we can mention so many of them, but for today's session I have taken up 4 most important changes which have occurred in the workforce of an organization. The first change is that the number of women has increased in the workforce. So, when the number of women has increased, what has been its impact? Then the second is that the diversity of the workforce has also increased. Then there has been an increased use of technology, and then there has been a trend of declining employee loyalty. Now, let us take a detailed look at what each change means and how it impacts the business and what does it mean for the human resource managers. So, let us take them one by one. The first, as we have already seen, is that there are more women in the workforce. So, what is happening as a result of that? The talent pool has definitely increased. So, when the talent pool has increased, what has happened as a result of that? It was said that when you are not allowing women to move out to work, or if the organizations are refusing women as employees in the organization, then they are saying no at least to 50% of the workforce. So, which is a very big loss for the organization itself. So, it is a loss for females, but it is also an equal loss to the organization, to the society. So, but thankfully gradually society realized this, and women started getting education, higher education, professional education, and as a result of that more number of women have started moving into the workforce. Now, because of which the choice for the employers, the choice for HR managers has increased, the talent pool has kind of doubled. Now, this is a very positive thing to have, a very huge talent pool to choose from, with men having their own personality traits, their own strengths and weaknesses, and of course, women also having their own strengths and weaknesses. So, kind of at many places they also work complementary. But an issue which arises because of that is also very significant, is work life balance. Earlier, there was a very clear demarcation of role in the society, in the family, that the male would earn, male would be the person who will be moving out of the household, and he would bring in money, he would take care of the sustenance of the family, and the woman would stay back in the house and they would take care of the home and the children and the family. Very, very clear. Now, with the entry of women into the workforce, that part of which was handling home now has moved on into the office. So there isn't anybody to look at after at home. So with who people who are living in joint families, things may be easier for them, but for nuclear families with children, it is a big challenge to manage. And if it is a challenge for the employee, it is a challenge for the organization also, because when the number of women is increasing in the workforce, there are concerns related to work-life balance, and that is why organizations which are very progressive, which are quite very proactive, they don't want to miss on the good female talent pool which they have got. So they are designing and they are kind of innovating on policies which are related to, which are focusing more and more on work life balance. So we have things like, you know, flexi working hours, work from home, which has become now a norm because of the COVID pandemic, but earlier it was meant for to facilitate people who could not give full time to the work because they had family responsibilities to be taken care of. So work life balance has emerged mainly because of that. Before women entering into the workforce, this concept was not even popular, it was not even heard of. Then next issue which emerges because of women entering into the workforce is the concept of glass ceiling. So many of the women's in several of the organizations, they claim that, you know, it is easy to get into the organization at the entry level. But once you start getting you know, experienced and you want to move up the corporate ladder, you want to receive promotions, it is a feeling that you know, men are being given more privileges in comparison to women. The movement of women across the corporate ladder is not so quick and it is not so smooth, even if they are equally deserving as men, as it is in the case of men, because, you know, it is believed that men do not have much of family responsibilities, they are free to move, you know, you don't have to worry much about where they are going, whether they are alone, or, you know, about their safety, etc. So it is easier to have men in the higher positions, and that creates what a concept which we called as a glass ceiling. So this also is a big challenge for HR managers, that they have to ensure that whatever promotions, whatever career advancements are being given, they should be given on the merits of the person rather than the gender of the person. So though we have, as I said, we have moved quite ahead from there. We had Indra Nui heading PepsiCo, we had Arundhati Bhattacharya who was heading SBI, Shikha Sharma who was heading Axis Bank. So we have so many females, but they are not enough in comparison to their male counterparts. So this is one issue which HR managers, as the whole fabric of the workforce is changing, this is another issue which the HR manager needs to have a clear, you know, thinking about. And then as I discussed earlier, mentioned earlier, that there are issues related to safety of women. So in India we have the Sexual Harassment Act, Prevention Act, which you know, kind of is a very good safeguard for working women to protect them from any types of sexual advances from their employer or from anybody in the organization, any person in the position of authority. They can report about that person. So, this is again a very important issue, that women should feel secure in the workforce, in the workplace. If they are moving out with a lot of constraints, in the sense that they are keeping their family behind and moving out. So, they should not the coming to the organization should not be a question of fear for them. It should not be an issue to worry. It should be a thing which should give them pride, which should give them satisfaction. So, HR managers also have to be very, very particular on this, that the women should feel secure in the organization, and any such complaint should be dealt with in the most appropriate way. Then the second important change which the workforce has undergone is increasing diversity. Now, in the lecture on impact of globalization, we had discussed that in today's organizations which are operating across the globe, we have a mix of employees, and we had also discussed that these employees can be basically classified into three categories: the parent country nationals, the host country nationals, the third country nationals, and the kind of complexity it creates for HR managers to deal with such a diverse workforce, right. So, there are certain advantages, of course, that why will an organization unnecessarily increase its complexity to get certain merits. So, first is increased productivity. When we have people coming from different backgrounds, we have people coming from having different skills, experiences, then what happens? The productivity level of the organization increases. Then obviously, as people have coming from different experiences, having dealt with different kinds of problems, so problem solving becomes much more easy in comparison to when we have people who have the same kind of an experience coming together. And of course, as a result of this, the organization does good in terms of productivity. When its problems are solved quickly, then obviously the profits also increase. But then, as I said, that there are two faces of the coin. There are advantages, there are challenges as well. First is that when you have people coming from different backgrounds, then there are bound to be disagreement. There are bound to be within a family, people can have disagreements, though they come from the same background, they have kind of the same value system also. Then also, so when people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities come together, it is not a strange thing that conflicts are occurring among them. So, these everyday minor disagreements and misunderstandings and conflicts, HR manager has to keep a close eye on them, and he should not allow them to escalate, because once they escalate, they will take a very ugly turn. So, that has to be taken care of. Then next is communication issues. This is again very, very important, because words may mean different things in different countries, and languages are different. So, we may not be able to understand each other's language, that is for sure, but maybe there are certain words which are used in my language, which is used in some other person's language also, but they mean totally drastically different things in those two different languages. Then it is going to create a big problem, right. And this marketers have faced such problems when dealing with international customers, when they do not take into consideration the differences in languages, and then these problems may arise. A very, very famous case you must have heard of, Pepsi, right. So Pepsi designed this beautiful slogan, talking about its freshness and it's the ability to give you that liveliness, refreshing taste. So it gave this slogan that Pepsi brings you back to life. And this slogan they thought would go very well with and throughout the globe, because it was a very very simple thing to say. But it backfired in China, because in China it translated into that Pepsi brings back your ancestors from their graves. And it was not well taken by Chinese, because they worship their ancestors, and it was like kind of disrespect to their ancestors, and then Pepsi had to take this slogan back. Then similarly, Mitsubishi, you must have heard its very famous car Pajero, and they gave this name, and they didn't realize that in Spanish it means jerk. And again, it was not taken well in Spain, and hence they had to change the name. As far as I remember, they gave this Montero, the name Montero. So there can be communication issues between employees coming from speaking different languages. Then next is too many opinions. So if having lots of ideas and suggestions is good, but too many of them overflowing with ideas and suggestions may delay decision making, may create ego problems among people if their suggestions are not taken into consideration. So too many opinions also would become a problem for the human resource management to deal with. And of course, hostility. When you come from different cultures, your do's and don'ts are different from others. What is considered appropriate, what is considered inappropriate is different. The way you speak, the way you handle things, your etiquettes, everything is different from others. Then after little misunderstandings, if things escalate, then there will be animosities, and there will be a very difficult time for the managers to handle such divided staff. Then next is increased use of technology. So with the very very important factor which is changing the nature of workforce is the way technology is being used. Earlier technology was just a support, it was a facilitator. Today it has entered all parts of our life. It is like it has become complementary to breathing, right. So if we do not have our phone in hand, if we do not have our laptop in place, if we do not have an connection, data connection or a Wi-Fi connection, we feel so lost, right. So there has it has impacted the world around. So increased use of technology has brought in certain advantages. As I said, that everything will have two phases, two parts. And so advantages would be higher productivity, of course. With technology, automation, things have become faster, quality has improved, costs have come down. So productivity, efficiency has improved, quality has improved, speed has gone up, but what are the challenges? Technology also poses certain challenges which are specifically relevant to human resource function. And first is highly aware employees. So it is good to have well educated and aware employees, but sometimes too much of awareness, too much of inquisitiveness in employees can be a real problem. It prompts you to keep yourself on your toes. You cannot hide anything from the employees now. So even if some good HR practice is being implemented in some organization which is several miles away from your organization, still the employees will come to know and they will quote about that, and they will they will try to persuade, they will try to influence to adopt that practice. If the government has come up with some pro employee policy, then in that case they will be maybe the first to know before even the organization can come to know of it. So highly aware employees, so the organizations also have to quickly change, tweak their HR policies according to the changing environment, because because of the technology, everything comes to the employees very quickly. And another problem is that there is a decline in workforce requirement. Decline in workforce requirement in the sense that what is happening as a result of automation, we require lesser number of hands. So the manpower requirement of organization is reducing gradually. You must have heard about robots being used in many companies, drones being used by Amazon for delivery. So you can very well estimate and understand how quickly it is going to reduce the requirement of human resource in the organization. So that is again a challenge, because layoffs, retrenchments are never pleasant. And to make your employees stick to your organization is also very difficult. Once the employees will realize that this is an organization which is going for large scale automation, then even the most performing and the most deserving employees whom you don't want to miss or whom you do not want to leave your organization may also think of leaving, because they will feel that it is before the organization fires them, they should move on their own, look for better options outside. So that is again a challenge, because it may lead to high rates of attrition, turnover. And of course, when there are quick changes in technology, then skills become redundant very soon. So what training you have imparted to your employees today may not be relevant after a few months, and again they require retraining. So it is an expensive affair also, and many times employees are not very happy to get training so quickly. So it is because it requires a lot of focus and effort, training, and you need to learn and improve very soon. So skill redundancy is again a challenge which is imposed by increased use of technology. And then we have declining employee loyalty. So declining employee loyalty is a very, very important issue as far as the changing nature of workforce goes. So first let us try to understand what employee loyalty means. Now employee loyalty can be defined in two parts. One is that having the employer's best interest at heart, and second part is remaining with the same employer rather than moving on. So does the employee think the very best about the employee? Does he feel that he should contribute his or her best to the organization? That is one part of loyalty. The other part is that whether if the employee is thinking of moving out of the organization, thinking of a switchover. So surveys unfortunately indicate declining employee loyalty. And while not actively looking for a new job, employees would leave their current workplace if the right opportunity came along. So it is decline loyalty does not merely indicate that employees are ready to quit their job, they are looking for other jobs, but they have this perception in mind that if I get a good opportunity somewhere else, then I may as well leave this organization. And main reason for this is certain organizations which kind of messed up, and in the 1980s healthy companies, they started laying off employees and citing reasons as shareholder value of those, improving shareholder values of those companies. As a result of that, employees became insecure and they became apprehensive about the intentions of the organization, and it kind of had a very negative impact on their morale and their commitment to the organization. And that is why it is now very important to redefine loyalty. Now loyalty should be redefined as that till the time employee is there with the organization, he should be committed, devoted, give his or her best to the organization, and when he or she gets a better opportunity, then very gracefully with due notice and information, that employee moves to the other organization. And employee engagement and sense of purpose can help. So, if employees develop a sense of purpose, sense of achievement, sense of recognition with the organization, a sense of belongingness with the organization, that can help in improving the concept of loyalty in employees. So, once the nature of workforce has changed, expectations of workforce has also changed. Employees look for better salary because there are a lot of options. Obviously, as I said, that they look for more autonomy because they are more aware, and they want more participation in planning of their work. Then work-life balance issues have become important. Employees want their suggestions to be taken, their ideas to be taken, they want to be involved in the organizational functioning. Organizations, people are very concerned about their health and fitness. So organizations have gyms, and they go for organic farming for preparing lunch for their employees. They have lots of juices and energy drinks for their employees, and employees also want learning and development avenues because they feel that that is going to be an add-on to their career wherever they and whenever they want to move on. So they want to really keep on updating their skills. And as a result of this, when the nature of employees have changed, expectations of employees have changed, so the nature of workforce of also changed. Hierarchical structures are now becoming obsolete day by day. The boundaries between departments have become blurred now. There is a lot of job rotation. There are people who are moving across functions, and there are no strict organizational departmental boundaries. And now the focus is on teams as the building blocks of the organization, rather than this is this department's work, this is this department work. If there is a task, then there will be people from different departments who will be handling that task or that project. New management perspective, the management has also changed its orientation. Now management is not regarding workers as employees as just a factor in production. They are now recognizing them as strategic partners. Then there is a continuous change. The organization is being continuously changed according to the changing requirements of the environment. The gap between management and employees, there was a lot of communication gap, there was a lot of the employees could not come into contact with the top management that easily, but in today's time the gap has narrowed. Even if they are not able to meet physically, through social media and through other modes of communication, they can be very well in touch with the top management of their organization. They can easily voice their opinions, and they can get answers to their questions, to their queries, etc. And the management is also focusing a lot of emphasis on employee satisfaction. So now it is not merely that we are paying you salary, we are giving you incentives, so be happy about it. No, the employee has to feel good about working in the organization. So these are the changes which have happened in the workplace. So we have discussed how the workforce has changed, how the workforce has changed, how the employee's expectation has changed, and how the workplace has also changed. Thank you so much.